Hi, everyone. We have author Chandra Brown here, and she's going to tell us a little bit about herself.
Okay, my name is Chandra, obviously Chandra Brown. I penned a book under the pseudonym S.J. Brown. I am a family nurse practitioner, and I wrote this little manifesto, as some of my friends are calling it, the Black Professional's Guide, How to Navigate White Privilege in the Workplace. I started writing it May 2019 and actually completed it right before the start of COVID. I had a publisher by the name of Dawn under Two Wings Publishing. So it is a self published book. So self published, you have to self promote. So once I completed it, we had to go through this whole process finding editors. And we had one editor who basically, for lack of a better term, she kind of did me dirty. She did absolutely nothing. And when we went through it, my publisher, Dawn, said, you know what? I can't get behind this. We have to find somebody that's actually going to do the work and clean this up because this is a good book and I don't want to put out nonsense. So we had to find another publisher, go through multiple graphic artists, and then finally we had a finished product that we submitted and actually got printed up and released on August the 15th was my official release date. So it hasn't been out there that long, but I have basically gotten the word out on my own. I've promoted, I've done radio interviews. I did an interview for BronxNet TV. So it is slow going, but I know this is a good book and I know that it's a good read. And again, like I said, because of the title, there's been some pushback, and I'm prepared to defend anything that I wrote. And otherwise than that, that's who I am and that's what I did. It's my first book that I've actually published. I am a poet. I have a couple of manuscripts that are in the work, and I also have a follow up already started for this particular book. So,
Okay, well, congratulations.
thank you.
You're welcome. Now, tell us what inspired you to write this book.
Okay, so being a Black woman in healthcare, and because everybody is on this I guess this tick about microaggressions, micro inequities, and just the disparities all around, not only in healthcare but in all industries. I had a very toxic encounter with the employee at my previous employer, and basically it was more or less cathartic for me to get out some of the anger that I felt because I don't feel my employer backed me up as they would have if I had been a white nurse practitioner. I felt like they kind of placated to her, what I call white girl tears. So she cried, played the victim, and ultimately what happened is they placed her on a 1 year corrective action, so she couldn't get into any more trouble within a year. But within 2 weeks, she got into it with one of our patients. She got into it with another coworker, and we're all people of color. So to me, that set a pattern, and it should have been a pattern for termination. But again, I'm gone, and she's still there. I left voluntarily, and she's still there. And they're kind of moving her around, and they're using her mental illness as a disguise for protecting her because of her white girl tears. So catharsis for me is to write. So I'm either going to write a poem or I'm going to just write a short story. But it started out as a joke. Like my friend would say, Chandra, you got to learn how to stay out the way. And I'm like, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to stay out the way. So I'm always going to be me, and I'm going to carry it like me. So this is my energy. If I got to stay out the way, then what are we supposed to do? I bring my blackness with me. So he made that joke, and I made it into a chapter. And from that chapter, it started out with another chapter and another chapter, and it became a book, a manuscript. And now it's a book.
Okay. Okay. And tell us about the cover. How did you choose the cover?
Oh, it's a chessboard. So you got to make chess moves. So I tend to be more observant than I am as far as vocal.
Mm-hmm.
And because I'm more observant and I'm more of a surveyor, I figured that this would be a good way to introduce people as to how you need to handle corporate America. You have to make chess moves, and you have to stick to the game plan. And sometimes you have to be willing to switch up a little bit, and that's okay. We should be flexible, but we should also be smart enough to know when we need to be flexible. So that's how I came up with the cover.
And where can we purchase your book?
chandrasplace.com. That's my personal bookstore. It is also available on amazon.com. If you go to chandrasplace.com, it does get you an autographed signature, because I tell people, be it this week, next year, and 2 years, this book is going to take off. This is a good read. I do have Amazon reviews, and it's not just privy to healthcare. This book is general enough that it is applicable to all of us, because being a healthcare professional, what I did was I did my research. So I didn't just make it about healthcare. I have friends who work in all industries. I have friends who are doctors, who are lawyers, who are paralegals, who are accountants, who are store clerks, who are just everyday Joe Schmo, run of the mill laborer. So I had to interview all of those people, not just Black people. I interviewed white people. I interviewed Latinx. I interviewed Native Americans, brown people, everyone, because I wanted to see just how our experiences are interconnected and what that interconnectivity looks like. And I can promise you, it's not just Black people who have bought and read this book. It's been white people who have come to me and said, Chandra, this was a good read and I needed this book. Not because of the lessons that I'm teaching about us. It's because they needed to learn something about this book too. One of the chapters that I have in this book is called Don't Shit Where You Eat. So basically, somebody read that, a white person read that and was like, you know what? Work has always been my playground. Now I need to think about this. And then there's another chapter that talks about gossip is the scoop to all evil. And I talk about not gossiping and knowing how to hold your cards close to your chest, and why it's imperative that you show that you are trustworthy by not gossiping, by not being that person. Because if you want to excel and if you want to be on an upward trajectory, how are people going to trust you with corporate secrets and you running off at the mouth about just run of the mill everyday business? Mm-hmm. So that's my book. Okay. A little bit.
A little, yeah. Just give us a little bit. Tell us where we can find you on social media.
I am at Chandra _the_writer. That's one of my Instagram pages. I'm also on Facebook I'm just Chandra J. Brown on Facebook. And I do have another Instagram account, but that's more geared towards healthcare. And that's called Black Nurses Corner. So there I post about issues, just general issues, but it's from a Black perspective because I am a Black woman. And I run that page with another one of my nurse friends. Her name is Janet. She's in Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm actually in Buffalo, New York. So we run that page together.
Okay. And are you working on another book?
I sure am. It is called The Black Professional's Guide, How to Deal with Women in the Workplace. Loosely. I'm still working on that title, but I'm doing my research now. I'm talking to women, all walks of life, and I'm getting their perspective on how we treat each other, how we don't have each other's back. And even still on my page, I do this little thing called Car Talk with Cookie, and I talk about situations in the workplace and how to handle them. So if you go to my page, there's probably about 10 posts about those car talks. And it's kind of connected to my book, but it's also a guide for us. And right now, my whole vein is women in the workplace. And I'm just talking about how we do ourselves in when we go to work.
Yeah, we're a piece of work, aren't we?
I'm experiencing a little bit of that right now as we speak. I'm experiencing that from some of us as we speak. It's kind of sad.
Yeah. Okay, now tell us, how has being a writer helped you as a person?
If I'm writing a poem, it allows me insight to basically other people. And I try to write from not just a personal experience, but from a general experience. And I can tell you, for as long as I've written poetry, how I've evolved, because I made a comment to my niece. My niece is a freshman in Chicago at DePaul University, and her older brother, he's a junior at one of the schools here in New York State, and he's dating a white girl. And probably about 20, 22 years ago, I wrote a poem called White Chocolate, and it's about interracial relationships. And I was telling my niece, I said, you know what? Now that I'm looking back at that poem, I can see where I was just an angry little person about a situation that happened. And my knee jerk reaction was to write this poem. And the poem is like, for people who feel a certain way about interracial relationships, they'll say, oh, girl, that poem is fire. But if you have a stepson that's married to a white woman and you have a nephew that's dating a young white girl, you look back on those words and it says to you, I'm so glad I evolved from this, because it is an angry little poem. So writing gives me insight. And if you can sit back and reflect and see where you are 10, 15 years ago to where you are now, and you see some personal growth, that in itself is just, I don't know, it's amazing. It's amazing how those angry little words came back to bite me.
Wow. Well, growth is always good, right?
It is. It's necessary.
Yes, it is. It is. And is there anything else that you would like to tell us about your book?
My book is a quick read, a quick relevant read. I feel like anybody that is going through any of these microaggressions, micro inequities, this is a good book for you. I've been amazed at all of the people who have read this book. I have not gotten one bad review from anyone, and that is proof to power, because if you go on Amazon, I think there's about 20 reviews on there. And the only person who gave me 4 stars is a doctor, because he said I didn't have any evidence-based medicine. And I said, it's anecdotal. It's not a research project. It's just anecdotal. It's not supposed to be evidence-based medicine. But he gave me 4 stars, but his words were very encouraging.
Okay.
So it's a good read.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining me.
You're very welcome, Kia. It was very nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you
No.
too. All right, everyone. That was author S.J. Brown telling us about her book. Make sure you go out and purchase a copy, and don't forget to like and subscribe to this video below.